and we went back to the
Hey, it's Sergio Dominguez, creator and host of The Sergio Show, with a Season 3 commentary. So, the season premiere is Sergio traveling back to the 1910s and 1920s. Now, the reason why both of these years were put together is because I skipped doing a time travel episode in the previous season. I don't know why, but I think I had other ideas at the time. So I ended up pushing it, and my plan was to do one time travel episode every season, but I skipped one, so they had to be merged together. And this kind of thing was a reoccurring thing later on, where I would skip a season or two of a time travel episode, then make it up for it by having a time travel episode with two destinations. And honestly, it's easier that way, just for run time and me just getting the best jokes out of here. It really was easier to do that. So you see Sergio's time travel room.
A coolly designed time travel room with my new assistant, Juan Perez. Hey Juan, how's it going?
Thanks for letting me help you go into space, Sergio.
I love that we're going to space again. No, we're not going to space at all. Time traveling.
Going back in time, right?
Oh, I love this joke. Juan with his innuendo or suggestive joke. I liked it. It kind of gave Juan personality. I think this was a joke me and Juan would do over the phone, and I thought, Juan can do it in the show. And this is a good place to do it, since this is a sequel and doing it again. He was very happy recording this, and I was happy to animate it. The more he keeps repeating the joke and adding more to it, the crazier his poses and animation would be. So it worked. I love the crazy poses and movement Juan does in this moment. It's good. There's even a part where I just make him just in the air.
Well, I don't know. The time-space continuum isn't a girl, I guess. And the moment of time I travel could take me into a nighttime. But I don't know what you say.
Yeah, it really was hilarious, this moment. And how I'm just trying to figure it out slowly. Well, yeah. Fun joke, fun segment.
And I know you're the right person that can make it funny.
Well, Juan, I love a good hidden joke, and that was pretty funny. I guess I'll let that one slide. Now, let's get back to work.
Oh, okay, Serge. You're gonna do it
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, he was just floating in the air for that frame. That was hilarious.
My sister destroyed all over me beyond repair. So I made a new one in the style.
Oh yeah, my idea was also every time travel episode there would be a different kind of time machine. And I did draw that. I think marker on paper, scan it into Toon Boom. That's how it worked.
Let me just set the time. I'm going.
So Sergio can never last with a only solo one time machine,
And there.
Yeah.
There we go. The time
It would be
machine set.
cut much quicker.
That I
With setting the destination in the back.
all set.
Should
Are
have.
you ready to
Should just cut to already that destination, but I think I was still into padding and filler and stuff.
Future.
I'm going to the past, buddy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, bomb ripping the
Yeah,
family.
every time he time travels, the way he's going there is always different with swirls and stuff because time travel it comes in so many different ways. People interpret it creatively in different ways. Time traveling, it's ultimately fast forward and rewind, but people like to put designs on this. Now, this is actually a character that I did not create. I think it's based on a character from the 1910s that I've heard through animation classes and history. And this was actually slower paced, but I think I fast forwarded this because it was simple.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that was one unique example of him going to a different time,
1910s.
going to a cartoon in the 1910s.
Since
But it was simple. And that's all I could think of when it comes to 1910s cartoons.
Now to take a poke from a different era. Let's take a poke from the cartoon of the 1920s. and I know which cartoon to go into. The first sound talkie cartoon. And here we go!
Oh, this one. This was parodying also another classic cartoon that I don't think I can say, but I was trying to comically reenact it. That was actually all hand-drawn animation. Well, most of it. Remember, that took me a long time, and that was only 10 seconds of animation. Yeah, but it's fast forward, even though originally it was obviously slower. But yeah, this is based on something. This is based on something. Very obvious, very classic 1920s historical cartoon. And I think I did enjoy making that hand-drawn moment where I was whistling on a boat. A steamboat. And after that, I just improvised some jokes. Like, oh, okay, fart noises. A little bit lazy, but should have done better with that.
That was a great time travel experience. Thanks for helping me, Juan. Now I'm back to the present, safe and sound.
No problem, Serge. I just got one question. Is the time machine supposed to be on fire?
Oh yeah, this one was slower, but that's also sped up.
Uh-oh. Water.
Yeah, it was fire for no reason, and with water it exploded for no
Water's on
reason.
fire.
Yeah, but the time machine isn't waterproof. Oh no. Oh man, my time machine broke again.
Sorry about the time machine, Serge. Hey, but look at it this way. At least you enjoyed the ride, didn't ya? Yeah, you enjoyed the ride.
Aw, that's okay. You're still a better assistant than Lydia. It's a good thing I got time machine insurance. Well, that's all for this special time travel episode of
Yeah, later on these time travel adventures get more and more edited because, yeah, I know, the reason, I'll just keep saying it one more time. Copyright reasons.
1910s and 20s.
Yeah, I wish I knew about this earlier.
Anyway, this is Sergio Dominguez saying have an animated day. And remember, don't drink and time travel at the same time. It's against the law, and you will get pulled over.
Oh yeah, that was a corny joke. Very simple. And that was this episode, the time travel episode. Not bad. Not bad. I remember, it took a while, but I think I finished it also in a couple of weeks. I remember those segments were kind of unique to make, but I ended up putting it together pretty well.
Sergio Studios.
Alright, the first Christmas special. This is interesting production history too, because I actually wanted to make this episode back in season 1, all the way back in maybe, it could have been late 2008, late 2008, late 2009, yeah, late 2009 or so, or was it late? Yeah, late 2009 that I wanted to make this episode. And I was making it, I was actually making it with the set of season 1 of the Sergio Show. But there was a production problem, and I was trying to make this episode very late into the Christmas season. And when that happened, there was some technical difficulties. I missed the Christmas holiday season deadline, and I had part of the episode done, but not completely done. So I missed it. The episode never got finished until later the following year. I actually did have time to make it and decided to do it a couple months early, and I ended up making the episode. So this was an episode intended for earlier, but I ended up putting it together the following year, if you can get all that. What I'm just trying to say is this episode was made for this year. I missed the deadline, didn't come out, just held it on for the next year, then finished it, the following year. And it had fun segments. Originally, there was going to be a moment where I made my own holiday song, but it was god-awful at the time because I didn't have music-making software. And obviously, I can't sing, but even then, the music that I wrote was really bad. Really, no. I scrapped that. That was like one of the early times that I scrapped something, and it was a song. Yeah. It was gonna be hey hey it's Christmas Day, and I had this toy keyboard. I'm like, no, this is not gonna work. I'll change it to something else, and I think I changed it to maybe a Santa Claus interview, which you're seeing right now, or a different segment. But I also had an idea to do a parody of the like animate snowman, because I've always questioned the logic. How can a snowman really move? Even as a cartoon, I was like, it's snow. Like, you touch like just a little bit and it crumbles easily. If you give him the magic ability of life, it's not even going to blink properly. So that was the joke. And also with Santa Claus in the interview, I like that he was also questioning the logic of his own holiday. I did love voicing Santa Claus, and yeah, that design is very crude. The design was from a different short called Shellman Claus that I made, and I like the design of Santa Claus that I put him in here, but I lost the original design, so I had to redraw it quickly and re-rig it. So that's why it looks kind of like sharp edges and stuff. Yeah, I do remember how I had to quickly put it together. And later on, Santa Claus would get a lot of redesigns. He would get a lot of redesigns over the years until I was happy with the latest design. Uh-huh. I remember this episode when it originally came out, it actually had a lot of attention. A well-known internet animator mentioned it on social media, and it got a couple of views, a good number of views. Back when it was originally in its original form and uploaded online at the time. But this does have some fun moments. I gave a present to Juan. Santa Claus talks about this. He talks about his own holiday, really angrily and confused. And this is one of those moments where I can use the show as a talk show, and it's Santa Claus. Oh, he's still rambling on about whatever. Oh, economy-based holiday. I actually love that line, economy-based holiday. I remember that I was still in high school when this episode came out, and someone liked it so much, the line economy-based holiday. Because Christmas is an economy-based holiday. Hilarious. It's so out of character for Santa Claus to talk like this, but I think that's just funny. Because he still works on this holiday, but he still has issues with it.
Wow, that was very insightful, Santa Claus. I guess you're not just a one-dimensional symbol that represents a day to waste millions of dollars on an event that's just to gain profit for the country for no reason.
Wow, I really needed to improve on my acting. That was a long line for me to say.
But I really am. I'm exactly what you just said. Ho, ho, ho.
Sorry, that was my cell phone.
Well, Santa Claus, it's been fun having you here. Thanks, Sergio. I remember, thanks to Google Earth and webcams, I see you when you're sleeping.
I love this upcoming line.
And you better be good for goodness sake, or I will cut you because coal is overrated.
I love that line. I will cut you because coal is overrated. And he just flies away. That was good. That was cute.
Santa Claus, I guess. Now let's continue the show with this. Many iconic characters have.
Now this was a small jab on like characters that are only popular on Christmas time. You know, so I quickly farted out my own. And I was like, okay, a Christmas inanimate object. Any inanimate object can be celebrating Christmas. Headphones. named Bunky. Ridiculous, terrible, but that was the point. That was the point. The background is very pixely, very grainy, and there's a technical reason why. When I said the background for the Sergio show, the new background with buildings, a platform, and this landscape, all that, it was actually really looked really nice, but it was very technically grating. Like the animation software Toon Boom cannot handle all that detail and all those layers. There were a lot of layers to it. So it would crash very often. I remember I would have technical problems with that. It could not handle so many layers during all that animation. So the only way to fix it is take all those layers, have it as one by turning it into a simple image. But it was a JPEG image, and I also think I did take it out of a video. Yeah, this was like a video taken, photographed by some software, and that's why it looks like so low quality pixelated and grainy. And that's been a recurring thing throughout the series too. You can tell when it's like drawings of it and the background is just pixely background stuff. Very technically cheap, but it had to be done because it was a lot of layers and designs. And there we go. That was the first Christmas special. I would end up doing another Christmas special about 5 years later. And then a couple more. And then some. I remember, yeah, this was like the first episode where I had to hold off until the following year to make. But it is how it is at the time.
Sergio Studios. Oh, that was a good one. Oh, man.
Episode 23. At the time I was watching this TV show that talks about how many ways people can die. And I thought this was so morbid, so intense, but I loved it. But they always talk about the death of people, real life action people. So I was like, how about this kind of episode, but with cartoons? Oh, brilliant. Of course it's so brilliant. So that's what I did, because there are ways cartoons can die. And there were unique, creative ways cartoons can die. Because when you watch a lot of TV shows and movies of cartoons and done by different studios and creative visionaries, they always mention death and how death is possible, impossible, or oddly executed in the cartoon world. And I've gained that thought and knowledge all my lifetime and decided to put that into an episode of the show. So this episode was good. Yeah, this episode was also fun because it had different characters, locations, segments. But I actually did try to emulate the show with graphics and titles, but again, because of certain copyright reasons, later on I had to edit all that out. This is an edited version where all the references to this TV show had to be cut. So it ended up being a parody of the show to just me just showing segments of characters dying, cartoon characters dying in certain ways. But it was still just fine. The episode still gets to the point that cartoons can die differently. And yeah, this was all drawn very quickly. Yep, one pig, copied 3 times, different colors.
So one pig dared the other pig to go down there and find
Me doing this narration voice, which I don't know what kind of narration voice it is, because it could have been
tumbling down to his fate.
the narrator of the Sergio show kind of voice, but
Be careful what you step in, or you'll be this little piggy going wee all the way to death. One fine day.
oh yeah, erasers. One was a reference to a movie, the first death of a certain movie. Now we're in the second segment. I think this is based on an animated short that I saw online about this rabbit, but I think you guys might know that. But yeah, cartoons can die from erasers since a lot of them are drawn on pencil. You know, later they're digitally inked and painted, or, you know, originally inked and painted. But cartoons can die from erasers. So that's what I was doing with this. I think a lot of it was originally actual images of erasers, but they're not mine, so I just made them more original and just draw them quick.
Next to his doodle. And the next thing you know, the erasers came crashing down and erased him for good. When the kid came back from his potty party, he saw his doodle thing was gone. It just goes to show, if you're just a pencil-drawn cartoon, you better not go anywhere near any erasers.
Yeah, no, really.
Cartoon Club of
This one's funny. Yeah, that's also based on this very same movie from the first segment. You see Knucklehead's cameo right there. That one was drawn quickly. Yeah. Love that nose. I think I put the extra mile on making the nose on top of the table. Just for that. But mostly this character is simply rigged. I do like the design of the character. I gotta bring him back. This one I liked because that always brings up logic in cartoons. Like if a cartoon is more realistic or more human or a humanoid cartoon, how mortal is he? Is he immortal, mortal? I've seen TV shows, animated TV shows where the characters are cartoon humans and they do die and not come back. And some of them die and they come back in the next episode. But I like this idea, this classic cartoony cartoon with this real looking cartoon. And I was like, they should do something that a cartoony cartoon can do, but not a human cartoon. So it was this one. I want to see how gory this is. Not that gory. Made it simple. Yep. After he's, I think I used the same rig and just redrew the head, the model, the Sergio rig model, and just put the head. And I think the zoom in is like that because of the timing and the frame rate.
I hope you cartoon characters will think twice before doing something dangerous. Well, that's all for this episode of The Sergio Show. Until next week, this is Sergio Dominguez.
Yeah, I wanted to also acknowledge how mortal I am as a cartoon, by having an anvil fall on top of me and survive as a cartoon.
Good thing I made more cartoon than human, or else that anvil would kill me.
This is a very poignant, very creative, well done episode. That does well with bringing up the animation satire and parody and the logistics. It was one of those episodes that kind of does live up to what I wanted, which was animation satire, cartoon parody. So, honestly, well done episode.
Sergio Studios. Oh no, wait.
Alright, episode 24. For some reason, I wanted to do an episode that has my little sister Lydia in it, but she was still not interested in doing the show, so I decided to make an episode without her, but my other sister Madeline was interested, so I had this idea for a long time. I was like, what if my sister is possessed by a demon? And what if the demon doesn't like possessing her, and they actually did her a favor? I'm like, brilliant! But when I was making it, I didn't really have that much of an idea after that. Because I did not see a certain movie that involves demon possession. But I wanted to make this, and really I just used my voice for the monster possession growls. And there's one line she says, and it's not my first little sister. It's my second little sister that said the line, so that was hilarious. She did one line as her older sister. It was cute, it was adorable. But Mal was pretty good at this. Her lines were adorable. Simple little lines.
All over the place. And lastly, she made a blood-curdling scream. But when I looked down and see that
So when I was making this, I didn't have that many ideas. There was one joke that was based on another viral video that I saw at the time. Wanted to reenact that. And I think that's cut. Not sure. Probably is cut. And there were some that I missed later on. Like I should have made the bed float later on, and maybe it would just be hitting me on the head or like crushing me. Like I missed that. I think that bed that my sister is on is from a different cartoon that I made, a fan animation that I reused for this episode.
I haven't seen any Exorcist movie because I'm not a horror movie fan, so I'm just gonna wing it on the whole thing. Now, let's start by identifying the situation. Let's take a look at how possessed Lydia is.
Yeah, whenever the zoom outs and zoom ins are really like choppy, it's the frame rate and the distance.
Oh yeah, she's definitely possessed.
At the time, I didn't know any audio editing software to make it sound more like possessed voice. It was just me doing a monstrous voice. Exorcism for Idiots by some idiot. Oh, this one was funny. I thought of a joke where you should use a squeaky toy and treat the demon like a dog. Like, here you go, come on, squeak, squeak, come on, you know you want to. Oh, I always loved that joke. I liked it. That one was a nice one.
It's working. While he's distracted, quick, Marilyn, start throwing the holy liquid at Lydia.
Nah, take that.
That line delivery was cute. Oh yeah, that was cut. How to get out of there. But yep, I drew that demon pretty quick, but it's a nicely drawn demon. Really is not that well proportioned, really. But it's hilarious. Easy design, like a little devil demon. That was the idea. I always like making monster voices like that. Like, ugh. There are some monster and beast characters I've done over the years, and I've done recently, and yeah, they're always fun. I have a nice deep voice, and I like to make monster noises. If you like my monster voices, please comment down below. I hope you do. Yeah, this is a line my little sister made for her older little sister. Just only wanted that one.
Has been a simple misunderstanding. Well, good luck, Mr. Demon, and I hope you find the right person that you were supposed to possess.
I wonder who the person you're trying to find is.
Okay, bye. Now let me check my card and see who I'm supposed to possess. Okay, here it is.
That was a simple effect. Yeah, it was just like transform tool along with the fade out.
Aw, jeez. Well, that's all for the Sergio show. I'm Sergio Dominguez, saying, have an animated day.
That was the episode. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. Yeah, it was those episodes where I had a random fun idea that I wanted to make into an episode. And my sister being possessed made sense for me at that time.
Sergio Studios.
Alright, this episode 25. Nice episode, pretty nice episode. It's a birthday episode. At the time, my birthday was coming up back in March. Back in March I was making it, only to have it, come out sometime in my birthday, which was April 29th. I think I uploaded that episode originally on my birthday on April 29th, 2011 to commemorate my 20th birthday. Sounds about right, yeah. Of course, it's a birthday special. I always want to do an episode where I do celebrate my birthday, because I'm awesome, and it only makes sense that the creator of the show should have a birthday based on himself. Yeah, I was very excited, and I did have a couple ideas. One of them being, like, the party's horrible. But there was this joke that made it into the original cut, original release, that I ended up taking it away because it was so... It did not come out great. I thought it was my mistake. Maybe it was funny, but it maybe came off too dark. But later on, it was not a well put together joke, and it came off dark and cringy. So I end up, I think, cutting it out in this re-edited version, but it's for the best because it's not entertaining or funny or anything at all.
Hey, Serge,
Yeah, that was my
happy
mistake. I
birthday.
was supposed to
Anyway,
make it
the party's
a
being set up
joke.
right now.
It was supposed to be a joke on myself and how I was brought onto this world, but it came off
Yeah,
too
Serge,
morbid,
I have a
too
question. Are you sure you
unsettling.
want
That
me to
didn't
run your
work at
birthday
all.
party?
No way.
I'm not all that good. Last time I ran a birthday party, someone ended up having a barbecue spatula shoved right up their ass.
Juan sitting at my
I'm
birthday
much
party,
of
very
a
nice of
dumbass.
him.
Juan, we've been friends for years. I trust you. You'll do a good job on this.
Alrighty, Serge. I'll be sure to make this an even bigger party than the last time we celebrated your
I like how there's
latest
preparation and
episode.
promise, but it turns out to be a
Everyone,
letdown.
thumbs up.
And it turns out all that didn't matter because with the power of animation, my birthday's awesome all of a sudden, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Well, see
But I was
you
excited to do
soon,
this episode.
myself,
I wanted it to be
Serge.
funny, fun segments, and there were some fun jokes.
Get the
I
show
think there was
started.
one, I don't know if it made it or not,
Oh,
but
hi, Lydia. What are
this
you doing?
party performer comes in, and it's supposed to be this cartoon character I like, but he's poorly done. And that's a joke on those kids' birthday parties where you want this cartoon to come up, and the cartoon is just so badly put together, and the impersonator's horrible. You know, that old chestnut. You know, it's supposed to be a joke on that.
Okay.
It's supposed to be funny.
I am in a good
Really
mood
funny.
too. Huh?
Yeah, but like this also, my sister just bothering me. It's like, here's a present. It's a punch in the nuts. That makes sense. That only makes sense. It's like, here's a present. Yeah, that was a way to keep my sister on the show without having her voice too.
Well, birthday boy, your party is ready.
Really?
Yep, just bring yourself into the party room, and then we'll get started.
Oh boy, this'll be the greatest party.
I love that little animation as he's leaving, he's waving my arms. Yeah, I'm waving. Cupcake. Oh, originally all that was like images. All these were like other images. In the re-edited edition, I actually went back to the old files and I had to actually legit draw
Best I can
these,
do on such
which I should have done in the first place. But I think I was in such a hurry that I was like, no, just quickly get the images and just slap them on there. So during that re-editing period, that had to be redone a lot by just going to the
Sorry
original
that this has
files
become
and
the worst birthday party
redrawing
ever,
those
Serge.
backgrounds and those props.
That's okay.
But it came
Juan.
out better,
And you
much
know
better.
what? I actually learned something today.
I like how I learned a lesson, which is obviously the obvious lesson of just birthdays are just celebrating your life, and it doesn't matter if you get presents or not. You're just happy to be alive and exploring your life 1 year at a time and achieving the achievement of a full year of your life. I thought that's a good lesson. But still, you gotta party. You gotta really
That's
celebrate.
what it's all about, I guess.
Yeah. Now that everyone knows the true meaning of birthdays, let's get to the real birthday party with a transition ex machina.
I think there was music playing in the background, but, you know, reasons not there. Oh yeah, it was just a fade because originally there was it was making things appear magically, but I think I just cheapened it now to just cut to it. You see that appear, the presents. What else appeared? Stuff like that appeared.
Okay.
Like there were other cartoons that were not mine there, but
While we party,
that got
we'll
cut,
end this
got
episode.
re-edited.
So, that's all for this birthday episode of the Sergio Show. Thank you for watching. This is
It was a nice episode.
by
Pretty
Sergio
darn,
Dominguez
gosh, decent episode.
saying, have an animated day and happy birthday.
I did have a happy birthday at the time, believe it or not.
Sergio Studios. Welcome. My name is the announcer.
So episode 26, actually episode 26 is a pretty weak episode. Like the original idea was that Sergio should go to do a tour of Toon City, which is the place that the show takes place. It's always taken place there secretly, but then publicly by, season 2 and stuff.
Sergio
And you know, this was also a thing in cartoons where it takes place in a special unique town. You know, there's always fans of that certain cartoon town, of that show. You know, and you're like, oh, I want to live in that cartoon place. But you can't, but you're a cartoon. So that was my idea. It's like, yep, this takes place in the magical cartoon world universe that is Toon City. And I wanted to build upon that with a tour because I can't think of anything story-wise to put outside of this area for now. So that's how this episode came to be. I decided to do it shortly after. He walks around, talks to cartoon buildings because you see the cartoon buildings, but they don't do much until this episode, where they sometimes talk. They're sometimes sentient when they need to be. The problem with the episode is ultimately there was, again, a lot of filler, a lot of padding, and that was my fault on that. There would be too much talking, and then too many like long-winded shots. I remember when I made this, it was like a lot of long-winded shots. I was like, okay, this is 10 minutes. This should be this many minutes, this many minutes, this many minutes, even if it is too long. And I think I improvised this episode too. Just improv voicing these buildings and such. Yep.
Be a fancy hotel. I used to be a dynamite factory. Oh, I was just an empty building for random.
Yeah, it was really simple to rig those faces. Those were cartoon buildings.
So wait, your hotel.
This I would bring this up in a joke later on in the series because I still think it's a cute idea that these buildings, cartoon buildings, are sentient, which does bring up a lot of weird questions on how these cartoon characters live inside these buildings. But everything's a cartoon and everything's a different kind of cartoon. So some of them can handle it and some of them can't. It's just how like real life people handle different buildings in different locations, different areas. Oh, how insightful what I just said. But that was kind of my idea with cartoon reality and reality. Yep. Things are different, and we handle different things differently. Wow. So open-minded. Wow. Damn, walkout animation was choppy. I don't know why it looked like that. Kind of weird. But in this episode, I also introduced to these areas that I was hoping later on in the series I get to do more of. But these two restaurants were just gags, and I really couldn't do much. Stuff for $1. I love dollar stores, so that's why I did that. But yeah, let's see, Funville. Those are based on those indoor arcades. I had like this small business one in where I grew up in New Jersey. That was fun, so I had it based on that kind of. Because it was fun. I do miss that place, but it's one of those, small business indoor arcade areas. Yep. Very nice. Lovely. I did try to design as best as I could. That Funville area comes back later in the series. God, that walking animation is so weird. Toon City sign. You always see that in the background of the show. Later on, it becomes more my handwriting instead of a font, just to make it more uniquely mine. And he's just all throughout the episode, he's just describing certain areas that I hope to put into the show later on, with no story or substance. Oh yeah, I cut some things out because there was supposed to be restaurants and there was supposed to be a mayor in the show, but those never really panned out in the series, so I just had to cut it in the edited edition. Yeah, some of these decisions were creative decisions, and yeah, I know that's very upsetting to a lot of people. I apologize. So sorry. Weak episode. Very weak episode. Now this episode's nice because this introduces my new college friend at the time, Neil. Neil's a good friend of mine. We met in college. So we were studying animation. And when I saw him in orientation, I'm like, he's going to be my friend. And we became friends. We became good friends. In college, And then we became we're still friends to this day on social media and all that stuff. He wanted to be on the show, and I was like, okay, sure. It was something like that. But there was this character that's going to be also introduced first, I think, before Neil. But yeah, it's this segment, this character, Hammond. I drew this character in college. Neil liked it. He wanted that character to be on the show, and I told him on one condition: if it's voiced by you. And he's like, yeah. So it's funny to hear like in Neil's introduction as this character, then followed by Neil.
And Spider Pig, that's all got nothing on me because I'm Hammond, the best cartoon pig ever. And if you don't believe me, I'm gonna.
God, was this improvised or written? I felt like it was a little bit of both.
Oh, okay. That was freaky. All right.
Yeah, that
Let's
was
move on to our special guest of
this
the
is a nice,
Sergio
cute
show.
episode.
He's a good friend of mine from college.
Yeah, I remember I was designing the Neil character with Neil, sometimes at his house, and I recorded like his recordings there too for the series. Later on, when he wanted to, do lines for the show, he would email me the lines later on in the series.
It's about time I got to appear on your show.
This is like his first design. Later, we redesigned him, which is, in the more recent episodes, but this was his design for a long time. And he was trying to become a recurring character, which he ultimately did. It was like a little bit more recurring. There was a large gap where Juan and Neil were not in the series, which we will talk about later. But yeah, the first 50 episodes were a lot about setting things up and really figuring out what the show's going to be. The first 50 episodes.
I can tell you that much right now. Just like you, Sergio, I love it.
But yeah, again, this is another like talk show like moment with the character talking to another character.
Per se, like the storyboards and the writing.
And just it was nice. Neil was nice enough to share, his hopes and dreams with the show and who he is. Yeah, Neil's a good friend. Neil's a real good friend.
With its own original cast of characters.
Well, that's great to know. Now tell me a little bit about your cartoon characters and anything else.
Okay, awesome. My main character of the show is named Jaden Sketcher, which is also the title of the show. Jaden is a black-footed ferret who lives in a galaxy inhabited by a bunch of other anthropomorphic animals, which means they're...
He actually pitched the show to me. That's sweet.
With two other crewmates, Mike and Tack. Now, Mike, he is a lemur. He's got kind of Madagascar accent, like from the movies. He's a marksman and also the comic relief of the show. And Tack, he's the brainiac of the cast, and get this, he's also a cyborg. He's got 5 tentacles that come out of his back that he can shoot.
Look at me trying to pay attention.
Lasers, and he's got this huge cannon in his chest.
That's
and he goes,
adorable.
boom! Like everything blows up like a mini nuclear bomb wherever the laser hits. And I also got like these other armaments that come out of different parts of his limbs. I'm still trying to figure out where I can put them all. I just thought that'd be kind of badass. And Jaden, he has something called a power sphere, which pretty much embodies all the energy from your spirit, and in using that, he can manipulate energy. And
there was a segment in the episode that got cut in the edited edition where I talk about parodies and how there are no animated movies based on parodies. A lot of parody movies are live action; they're not animated. So I did make a monologue in a segment of that before Neil came up. But it got cut because, that copyright reason. And here's Hammond again. Yeah, Neil performed Hammond pretty well.
I hate this show. This is a load of feces.
Well, that was, So with your permission, I would like to show the audience the images of your characters, please. Just want to show them to the audience.
Yeah, I would love to, but thing is, I got it copyrighted, so I can't. But what the audience can do...
Early examples of me trying to obey copyright reasons.
At youtube.com/user/Jayman, that's JAYMAN.
Plugging in that channel.
3 question mark feature equals MHUM. Wow. The internet's really pulling out all the strings in these usernames, whatever these URLs, whatever they're called.
Well, that sounds great. You heard what he said. Go check his YouTube channel. Well, Neil, other than that
I think that channel's still there.
it's
You can
been
still
fun
check that
having
out.
you here.
Thanks, Sergio. It's been fun being here.
I hope to see you in future Sergio Show episodes.
He will.
See ya.
He will. He will be a big help later on.
Hope to be here more often too. See you, Serge.
Well, that's all for this episode of The Sergio Show. I would like to thank Neil Witka for being here, and my new character Hammond, I guess. Well, this is The Sergio Show. I'm Sergio Dominguez, saying have an animated day. Sergio Studios.
Alright, episode 28, bottle episode. This was one of those episodes where I want to make it quick and simple, but something a little bit more effort than just the Sergio show on the screen and me doing weird improv. So, I tried other ways to make a simple to make episode, and it was... Yeah, what if everything was just static, simple drawings, like a storyboard, but since storyboards moved to audio recordings, it's called an animatic, so the episode goes into animatic mode. Now, the episode I think took maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a week and a half to put together, even with everything being simple drawings and stuff.
Having a TV show, having an internet show can be fun in terms of creative freedom, but unless you advertise or get paid to do this, you're absolutely making no money or profit whatsoever.
Yeah, I do like how I'm talking about budget cuts in the series. Yeah, that's why the show is not completely hand-drawn. That's why there's not that many drawings, cinematic images, and everything done quick. Because that's what happens when you work on such a tight, small, nothing of a budget. But it's awesome that I got to have at least creative freedom.
Use my arms less by moving little to no poses. Second, some body parts that are least used will be removed. And here's an example.
Oh, I like that joke because sometimes there are no legs behind the desk because they're just the character just sits on the desk most of the time. It only needs to be outside of the desk when it needs to. Then he'll have legs. And at times, certain people and characters don't give me the recordings, or maybe I can't afford it, so I reuse audio recordings. And that's a fun budget cut way to make a cartoon.
Here, let me show you. Hey, Juan!
Hey, Serge, what's up?
How's the weather we're having?
I don't know, Serge. You're the one producing it. You tell me.
Nice. So what do you think Seth MacFarlane remaking the Flintstones?
Disney!
Yeah, I should have cut that line out because it doesn't matter now.
My final question. Boxers or briefs?
I've exceeded my cell phone limit.
Now go back to whatever you were doing.
Which is probably no one.
I'm going to prove to you that this show has some cutbacks by zooming out the camera a little bit.
Oh yeah, this is again bringing up how the background of the show had too many layers, and that was a technical nightmare. So everything is just one flat, simple background image.
Okay, alright. Okay, zoom back in. Alright. And to top it all off, in a couple minutes, this show will change into storyboard mode. That means all the animation is just going to completely go away, and it will be resorted to cheap drawings.
Yeah, and sometimes it's simple animation-wise to have the character just stand there and talk.
Animatic mode. Yeah, it's animatic, not storyboard. Yeah. So, yeah, this episode is very, very poor. I hate being poor while having an animated show. It just doesn't make sense.
And this is just 3 seasons in.
And I don't get any financial relief on it. The show would come out even better if I was paid for it. Why aren't there any networks buying this show? Come on.
Yeah, me
it's
complaining
easy to
about the budget and why
produce.
isn't the show
You
going
can
far
do
when
a
it's only
lot with a small
3
budget
seasons
on
in.
this show.
I
Yeah, I know.
was kind of tough drawing this only
Anyone
because
can
I
do
was
a cheap
using the
transformation.
Wacom tablet. Yeah, I was using the Wacom tablet to do the animatic parts.
What?
Some of them were easy, some were difficult.
No, the show is
But these rough
set in
drawings are nice. The
storyboard
thing is, I
form.
forgot to put arrows because that's using
Form.
animatics because they're storyboards, and storyboards need arrows to show where the character is going if you're just going to show static drawings. Give it directions for the animators to work off of. Yeah,
I just
I was
remembered
missing
there's
that.
actual money I saved for this show, and I'm gonna find it. Now let's see, where could my money be? Huh? What? Okay, audience.
the drawings are not bad. They are rough and
Behind this door that says
they get really off model, but it's
So,
funny.
I'll go check. But if
I
there's
think some of the
nothing
lines look
but a
like that
black
because
wall behind
the
this
Wacom
door,
tablet to Toon Boom just
I'm gonna
didn't
get mad.
didn't look good, but I was doing it quick anyway.
You see? What did I tell you? Just a brick wall behind this door. Yup, just a brick wall. What the brick wall?
There was something
is
behind
just
that
a
brick wall.
cover? For what? I wonder what's in here. Who could possibly
Don't remember
want
this
my
since I made
money?
it. Jeez. You see, there's an arrow.
Precious money.
Yeah, this is another example of me trying to still use my sister even though she left the show. This is me playing her, but since it's budget cuts and quickly put together, I just made up a voice.
I work super hard on this show, and I deserve that cash. You wanna know why?
Yeah, I think I was just having fun with the voice work here.
Hard for this show for such a long time. I don't even get one penny from it. But Lydia, this show is done so cheaply. I don't have any money to pay for the real voice actors, and I no care. Since you don't pay me, all the money is mine.
No, my voice work was fine on this.
My armpit.
That was based on something. One actually did that to my sister. Like long ago, just really poked the inside of her armpit really badly and it hurt her. It was hilarious. I had to do that. I ended up using that as a joke within the show.
Juan, buddy, it's you. You saved me.
What the ever voice recording this is.
Thanks, Juan. Now the show can go on. Now that it has its budget of $30 in pennies.
I think I actually had $30 in pennies. That's where it came from.
29 more dollars than it takes to make the series. Huh? What? Okay. Since you saved my life and all, I'll give you some cash. Here's 100 pennies. Yeah, here you go.
Diary of the Wimpy Kid.
You know, in the cartoon world, that dollar is pretty much useless.
Because I did what you failed to do.
Don't worry, Juan. Someday, we'll get real money for this show. All we have to do is just believe.
Which is probably no one.
Welp, I probably have no choice.
Those are random recordings, and yes, I'm still very hopeful about it. Optimistic.
Thanks for watching this cheap.
Keep following your dreams, kids.
Show. I'm Sergio
Hopefully.
Dominguez saying have an animated day. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, and comment on this show and my previous Sergio Show episodes. If I can't use money to keep this show going, then I can run this show only on enthusiasm and positive attitude. Yay!
Yeah, I just kept the show going with positive attitude and enthusiasm. Yeah, that sounds like me.
Bye.
Yeah, pretty decent episode. I thought it was going to be weak because it was cheap, but no, the show's pretty nice. This episode's pretty nice. Really creative episode with a budget of nothing. Later would make more unique budget cutback like episodes.
Sergio Studios.
This episode I enjoyed. This was when Juan actually got a hat in real life and decided to put the hat in the show. Juan visited from New Jersey to where I lived, and we were hanging around in a flea market, and we went to the stand and they had hats, and Juan found this hat that he fell in love with, and he bought the hat, and he wore the hat, and he loved the hat so much, and he really loved it, and it really stand out as a human being. Or at least a character or personality to him. He really loved the hat. And we decided to put it into the show, and this was the episode. Nice episode. Really nice episode. And this is a good way to bring in animation parody and satire into the show with Juan wanting a hat, because cartoon characters do have hats. Believe it or not, cartoons wear hats. Oh! And when cartoons do wear hats, it's always a creative hat, and when someone real life puts on a hat, they're like, oh, you're like that one cartoon. So that's how it came to be. That's how this episode was put together, with the idea of the hat. And I remember, I think I did these recordings with Juan. Me recording it off of a video chat we did on the computer. That's how we did it for this episode. So that's how I did in this episode, record them off of a video chat that we had.
More people should comment about us, and thumbs up, and favorite, and subscribe to this show. Do it now, folks. Do it. As for making an impact on this show, Juan, ever since the beginning, you've been such a supporting character.
Juan has been very supportive over the years. Even within the first 30 episodes or so, he's been a fun character. There was this thing early on, I don't think anyone ever noticed, but in the first couple episodes of the show with me and Juan, I ended up making a mistake, and we actually had the exact same skin color. We had the same flesh color skin for a while, and I realized, wait a minute, we actually have the same skin color, and I accidentally colored him the same skin color as me. So I fixed it by just taking, I think, mine, make a copy of it in Toon Boom, and altered the copy, and just make it slightly dark, and color Juan's new skin like that. So yeah, there was a weird time where, if you notice, me and Juan had the same skin tone, but really he's just a little shade darker. So that's what I did, and I think I fixed that mistake. It was weird. I didn't know that for a while.
Okay, Serge, I got your point. Now let's go.
But I like how this episode has a new location, and it's a place where cartoons can get hats. Yes, there are hat stores in real life, but it's funny when cartoons get cartoon hats.
A lot for 10 minutes. Anyway, we gotta get you a hat, and I know just the place to get it.
Hattie hats. That was an idea.
Hats, the place where cartoon characters get a hat.
Nice. Now let's go get me a hat.
Good read there, Juan.
Wow, it looks amazing.
God, at the time I didn't have a good editing software or any editing software at all. I could have maybe cleaned up that recording a little bit more.
Okay, Juan, let's start off our hat search.
Great. Now which beeping hat should I be wearing first?
Oh,
Juan's really anxious about getting a hat.
Yeah, but hell no. Serge, not a cap. So many people in the world wear those caps. If I want to be unique and stand out, I gotta avoid those caps.
I hear you, Juan. No caps. So, let's get to the next hat.
Oh, fuck no.
That's what I forgot to say. This is one of the first episodes, I think the first episode where the F word is actually said. Because I never imagined if I was ever going to say the F word on the show. But Juan insisted, especially in this episode, that he would actually say the actual F word. So there you go. Episode 29, a historical episode. The F word is actually said uncensored on the show. Even the edited version didn't censor the F word. Honestly, I liked when Juan said the F word. It was hilarious. I remember recording that line. We had an argument. It was a very producer versus producer argument over, should we say the F word? Should we not say the F word? I was like, no, don't say the F word. Even though Juan wanted to say the F word. He legit wanted to say the F word. And when he did, he was happy. But there was a point later on where I deleted it. And Juan was like, Serge, come on. You're no better than a wimpy little kid's baby channel for doing that. He was really convincing me not to bring back the F word. I was like, okay, Juan, all right, you get your wish. That was like one of the moments where Juan, as a producer, like overpowered me and convinced me. And I was okay with it. I was like, yeah, you know what, let's keep the F word uncensored. What the heck? And he did swear, said hell, and he said the F word. And he did it. It worked. Honestly, it worked. His attitude. Of course, when you wear a beanie, you gotta just like swear in anger for having that on your head. So it made practical sense. Now, this obviously influenced later on in the series episode where I finally said the F word. But again, we'll get to it. But yeah, that was a hilarious moment the way he said the F word and got frustrated. But there it is, the hat that will be a big part of the series. His cap with flaps. And I do like the design of the cap with flaps. Simple design, but it worked well on Juan. It covered his like haircut that he had at the time, because he had like a thing in the front. But the hat works very well. I didn't know how well it would work for him and for the character for the series.
Well, Juan, you finally got that hat you wanted. Now what are you gonna do?
Now, this part's funny because we were running out of time in the day to record the last lines, and I told Juan, record the last lines, just a couple last lines. And I was like very eager to tell him to read the last lines, even though he couldn't get them out. Then all of a sudden he said the lines at like super quick, and I had them recorded, and Juan could not record any other time in the day or in the week, and I wanted to get the episode done soon. So yeah, the last couple of lines is him just talking really, really fast. Yeah, he said all the last like 3-5 lines like super quick because he was on a time crunch at that point, and I was like, heck, whatever, I'll work with this. Yeah, I made him fly away too. It gave him a lot of confidence with that monster and stuff. So yeah, I know. I think it was so. It could have worked because he was so happy that he got excited with the hat. But yeah, that was weird and funny. In hindsight, maybe I could have slowed it down, but I didn't know how. Didn't have the editing software to do that. Audio editing software to do that. But still, overall, pretty fun episode. Funny episode. Juan's a good sport. Excalibur, he flies away. Yep. Pretty good episode. Pretty good.
Sergio Studios. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But fool me 30 times, well, you're just plain crazy, dude. Anyway, it's the Sergio Show!
Well, here we are. It's the season 3 finale. This one had a lot of segments too. Oh, this one's a funny joke. Yep. Cartoon fan art Sergio is back. He has a small appearance. And it's funny how, because before we saw him, he was like talking really funny, like, "Arr." But this one he talks intelligent, but he got kicked out. And later on, it was just nothing. It wasn't until later in the series I decided to bring the character back in a completely new way, new direction, but that's something to say in a later time. But yeah, that was it.
Art form that is animation. Anyway, we got a great show for you today, and let's get...
Yeah, this episode did have a couple of segments. It had mail time, it had the opener. It had song parodies, but this is not here in the edited edition.
I'm the host of the show. I'm Sergio Dominguez. Oh, no. I'm the host of this show because I'm Sergio Dominguez. No. You're an imposter. I'm the owner of this show because I'm Sergio. Nope, you got it all wrong because,
Fan art Sergio got really greedy. But, he does get a little bit more eviler in the series, if you know what I mean. I hope you do.
Anyway, you can go now, malentrawing of me. Okay. Anyway, it's the 30th
Yeah, I was very excited whenever I did a 10th episode. Every 10 episodes, every time I end the season, I'm always excited about it.
Myself, and I just gotta thank my glorious fans for making this show possible. Even though there's only 4 of you.
Yeah, that was back then when I had a small fan base. Oh, how times change, and now I have even smaller audience. Yeah, I did it. Oh boy, what a ride.
I've got a couple of things. To commemorate this episode, we're gonna take a look at some fan mail.
Oh yeah, I think I once asked for fan mail and fan messages, and I barely got any questions about the show. I think I got like 1 or 2 fans that were excited about the show. And back then, animated internet shows, especially on a certain website, were very limited. But nowadays, there's a lot of them. A lot of them, they're really coming back in this different form. But the show keeps being itself, and that's what, that's interesting.
But it was never intentionally to be shown.
But I do like the joke to hear that there's a lot of mail, only to realize all the mail is just fake. There's only a couple.
Let's get started. Question 1, and it asks, what's up with Lydia season but not speaksin?
That was supposed to be something. But I also did bring up any updates on the show. Yeah, this was also a little update video on the show. What happened to my sister, and there was a segment called the Sergio Salute that just came and went. But that was like when the show only had 3 seasons to its name. Jesus. Jiminy Crickets. Oh boy.
Recording half of her lines. I had to right away around it. Go check it out, episode 16. She just does not speak. But I still think that Lydia is a great character for the show.
Yep, I mentioned this before.
Ever since episode 16.
And also, it was a good time to just use like images. Yeah, the images were pixely. I think they were in a format. That when I took static images of it, it was like that.
Saying 2 lines for 1 episode of the Sergio show. And I had to take part voicing my sister too in that other episode. Anyway, that's what happened. But someday, I'll bring her back to the show. Dear Sergio, are you and Juan gay?
Yeah, this was supposed to be a joke. If it didn't work, it didn't work. But it was inevitable I was going to make this kind of joke, but it probably was too bland. And it was too awkward. So if nobody find it funny, I apologize. It was supposed to be a funny take, more on me, more of a funny joke with me and Juan. Not anything more serious than that. But I apologize.
Not at all.
Jokes like that end up happening. If nobody likes it, it happens.
Blah 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 blah.
This one was funny because yeah, blah blah blah. Might as well just make a joke where the question's blah. Because what else?
Blah 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 and blah and blah and blah 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 blah. And that's all for viewer questions. Now, I'm going to discuss the changes in the rating system. Now, I'm going to show you a chart that has...
Oh yeah, this is funny, and it kind of still works to this day about the show's success and viewership. Back then the show was struggling, there was a good amount of time that it was doing well, and then it died. But now it's still hopeful. It's come back in a different website, actually. The following of the show.
I will suddenly end this episode. Well,
and yeah, that blurred thing, yeah, originally I think I blurred it because the image was a different kind of chart. Something like that.
This is Sergio Dominguez saying, have an animated day.
And there you have it. That was season 3 of The Sergio Show. Man, just those 3 seasons developed. But even then, the show will keep on developing in later seasons within the first 50 episodes. And we'll get to those pretty soon. Anyway, thank you for watching this season of The Sergio Show commentary. I'm Sergio Dominguez saying have an animated day.